If I were to ask you how many people carry cash, what would you say the percentage is? I guarantee if I were to look through each of your wallets, I would see one, maybe two debit cards, a credit card, but no cash. As of 2021, only 18% of the world uses cash as a payment method. Now, the tracking of the statistic is admittedly difficult to accomplish. Researchers can only track bills withdrawn from ATMs and not what was used to pay someone directly or used as a gift, etc. However, the research points toward the same trend, that cash, specifically ATM use and ATM withdrawal, is dramatically less prevalent than it was just 10 years ago. By 2025, it is hypothesized that cash usage will account for only 10% of global payment methods. To give another example, in March of 2023, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, published their research outlining the world's use of cash. Their research shows that most countries have not only been moving away from cash, but there was a specific point in time in which we observe a steep drop-off across the board. Now, the IMF does not cite what I'm about to say anywhere in the paper, which is not by any means weird or conspiratorial. I'm simply pointing out an observation I made. But what happened in late 2019 to early 2020? That's right, the COVID-19 pandemic. It was during this time in which governments and health officials were messaging the dangers of cash use, specifically its ability to transmit diseases. Hardly a conspiracy, since this is something that we have known to occur for a while now, but I thought it was interesting that such a huge data point was not included in a study that discussed the reasoning behind the world's migration away from cash use. So, what's the deal if we move away from cash, I hear you ask? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. If you were to ask a Scandinavian, I'm sure they would have nothing but good things to say about it. After all, they are the closest countries in the world to achieving a truly cashless society. As of 2023, 98% of Norwegians owned a debit card, and the country has one of the lowest physical cash rates in the world, with only 3 to 5% of point-of-sale transactions paid for by cash. Just like their Norwegian neighbors, 98% of Swedes and Finns own a debit card and seldom use cash. Outside of Scandinavia, countries like the UK and Hong Kong are also seeing a sharp decrease in cash use. But let's not think that debit or credit cards are the only form of cashless payments. Digital wallets such as Alipay, Apple Pay, and PayPal account for a large percentage of alternative payment methods. In addition to these digital wallets, mobile money, which has been extremely popular in African countries for years, is making its way onto the global scene. Essentially, mobile money is the use of a cellular provider to facilitate a transaction, instead of a bank. Your money is basically stored in an electronic wallet linked to your phone number. To transfer money, users select a relevant service from a phone's mobile money menu, and simply send a text message. So, we know that many countries are moving away from cash and embracing electronic payments, but are there any benefits to this? Well, some studies claim that going cashless would lower the crime rate. People are less likely to mug you if they know you have no money on you. It would also decrease money laundering. You can't launder something that doesn't physically exist, or as effectively at least. And it would increase overall public health with the lower risk of transmission of diseases through cash. And lastly, the overall convenience would be a net positive for everybody. Critics of a cashless society claim that the risks outweigh the convenience. In contrast to the studies supporting the topic, researchers have cited multiple issues arising as a result of poor financial institution security. If your bank information is leaked and sold as a result of a hack, then your money is subject to theft. Others are simply averse to the fact that the government and private corporations would effectively have access to your spending habits. Imagine you go to file for life insurance one day, only to find out that yours would be triple the cost of the average person's. Then they tell you it's because you're at a high risk for heart disease or liver failure, because you eat too much McDonald's or visit the liquor store too often. These organizations could effectively determine every single facet of your spending habits. Now, there are currently laws in place to prevent this, but even those are just a company's promise. Basically, the only thing stopping them from doing so is them saying they won't do it. Another issue detractors of a cashless society bring up is simply privacy. They feel that they would be monitored 24/7 with transaction details outlining their overall pattern of life, from their hobbies to the meals they like to where they frequent. Companies could effectively paint a customer's pattern of life merely by watching where and when they spend their money. Those who disagree with those opposed to a cashless society will often say, well, don't do anything illegal and you won't have anything to fear. But the problem with that lies in the ever-changing political climate we find ourselves in. New laws are coming into fruition each day, and these changes or additions could turn today's law-abiding citizen into tomorrow's criminal. I believe it would be unwise for governments to pass such laws which prohibit the use of physical forms of legal tender. And in the United States, there are some local governments fighting back on this issue. For example, there are currently 11 states that allow gold and silver to be used as legal tender. Montana's legislation is currently pending approval, which will make it the 12th state overall. This means that if the federal government officially announces a switch to a cashless society, gold and silver could still be used at the state level for purchases and payments. Personally, I think everyone would benefit from this, as there's an inherent value in precious metals. But what do you think? Should we follow in Scandinavia's footsteps and go cashless? Or should legal tender be based off of something with tangible value? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all next time.